All right. Well, sorry, I kept you guys waiting in there talking to the team a little bit about the start of the game and just the ebbs and flows. I felt like we came out a little flat, obviously, and then we made a push in the second. But just talked more about the consistency of energy and effort. And that's not normally the case. We worked on West Virginia's pressure, and that was kind of the key stat, right? They turned teams over, probably 20 plus turnovers a game, and you could see they had 24 points off turnovers, kind of rattled us a little bit, but just talked about our competitive effort from start to finish, and just something we really need to come with and put 40 full minutes together.
Question?
Hey Coach, can you talk to me about the turnover problem and how can the Sun Devils take better care of the ball when they face Cincinnati on Saturday?
Well, again, Cincinnati will be a different team in the sense of how they pressure. West Virginia's identity is pressure. But I just thought there were some high-risk passes that we didn't need to make. We tried to thread the needle. We talked about more ball movement and in our kind of our 4-out, 5-out spread offense, getting in the paint and playing off 2 feet. You play off 2 feet, now you can make the extra pass, you can make other reads, and I felt like we were getting downhill but not really making the right reads, right? We were either trying to force the shot or not reading the defense, short passes, lofty passes, if you will. But those are things that we had talked about, and it'll be a good film session in preparation to Saturday for sure. But that was kind of West Virginia's identity more than it will be Cincinnati's.
Coach, there was obviously no moral victories in the sport, but obviously after Sunday and performing that well against the number 11 team in the country, you had to at least have like some sense of confidence coming into today. What was the most just frustrating part of just like how the gameplay just didn't work out particularly in the offensive end?
Well, it was. I mean, again, we played really well the other night, and again, it's a new game. So, again, that was a little bit of energy and momentum going into today. And so I felt like shoot around, same thing, really good prep, really good walkthrough. So starting the game, right, giving them a 28-9 first quarter, it's hard to come back on any team, let alone the number 16 team in the country. Because I thought in the second we came back. You saw good ball movement. You saw us handle the pressure. But I think it was just you cannot spot a team 28-9 in the first quarter. Not a team 16th in the country for sure.
You mentioned that comeback in the second quarter, especially towards the end, cut it down to 12. What did you really like out of what you were seeing?
Well, I felt like we were patient on offense, right? On the board, it was poise versus pressure. And we were moving the ball around. We weren't making high-risk plays, high-risk passes. We were taking the open shots that we got. And again, if you can't turn them over, they can guard, but they want to speed you up, right? A live ball turnover starts their break. And so the more we were able to execute, it slowed them down. I also felt like our pressure, even though it was contained, 22, our 2-2-1 slowed them down as well, so they couldn't get loose in transition. I just think that the second quarter, towards the end of it, we just had more poise on offense and just patience defensively, and they weren't as active in the open court.
And then coming out of halftime, spot them 2 quick threes, turn the ball over 3 times. How do you respond better coming out of halftime going forward?
Well, and that's the question, right? That's the question. We'll go back and look at it and see. We didn't start Livette coming out because she was in foul trouble, and that's a different starting lineup. Not that should matter, but we'll go back and look at that because we've had some inconsistencies either in the first or the third. And at halftime, we show them video. We have live video at halftime, so we get to see real time things that were working, things that weren't working. So we really focused on the turnovers, focused on the ball screens, and where we were effective moving the ball. So we just have to start the third better.
And Coach, you're saying with the first and third, obviously the second, the way you responded, from where you're looking at it, obviously on the bench, do you feel West Virginia was doing something? Because it seemed like you're talking about patience, but you also seemingly, when you made that run, got into your offense quicker in the half court. What do you feel was the issue with that? Because it seemed like, I get pressure, but I mean, it was taking longer to get into your offense, it seemed like.
Well, I thought we weren't in a flow. I thought we were just dribbling the air out of the ball, if you will, instead of moving the ball, right? And getting that movement up the court. If you just let them just kind of guard you in the half court, you don't have that offensive efficiency. And so once we started pushing the ball more in transition, I think we had more flow, but you can't walk the ball down the floor against a team that wants to pressure you. Now you're starting your offense with 12 seconds, and now the shot clock's running down. I thought once we got the stop, right, early they had what is it here, 8-second chance points. But once we were able to get the stop, then we were able to then get the ball down the floor. I thought we were good in transition. In some instances, we had 3-on-2, 2-on-1 advantage breaks. We're good when we're in transition. And so it all was predicated on getting the initial stop.
Everybody good?
One more. How would you describe the aggressiveness that West Virginia had and how your players responded to it?
They're pretty aggressive. That's kind of their identity, right? They want to create this havoc in which you play with. They're known to turn teams over. Like, that's their identity. It's not their half-court offense. It is their pressure, their relentless pressure for 40 full minutes. And I thought in spurts we responded, but not for 40 minutes. And those are things we'll go back and look at and evaluate, because, again, there are other teams in this league that can do it, right? But there were just moments where I felt like their pressure didn't disrupt us. We were just rushing with the ball or not hitting the open person and making the at-risk, high-risk pass instead of the direct pass.
I wanted to ask you about Blackston. You know, not that she can go out and shoot
she's
all the way out to the three-point line. How much of a challenge does that present for your post?
Well, I think that's where you saw us start Kennedy Basham versus Nevaeh Parkinson, just because they started her and she's a mobile big. She's a perimeter post. She's not banging inside, and I felt like Kennedy Basham has more mobility to get out there and close out on some of those. But she was 3 for 5 today from 3, but she's just, and at 6'3", right? She has a little height to her as well. So I think Kennedy matched up well against her more than Vea did, just from a mobility standpoint.
Coach, it feels like y'all failed to get going from beyond the arc up into the fourth quarter. I think Brown got 2 in there.
Mm-hmm.
Was that like y'all going thinking, I want to put the ball in the paint, or was that something that happened naturally?
No, it was just take what they give you, right? At the end of the day, they play a matchup zone, right? And so they're stretching it. They're really long. What we said was we didn't want to settle from 3, right? Our 3-point field goal percentage isn't as high, so we wanted to get in the gut, put foul pressure on. Now, if they collapse, kick, right? We're better on the receiving end versus just settling for the 3, because we do have really good players that can shoot the 3 ball, but we don't want to get started from 3. That's not our game. That doesn't work well for us. If anything, it's more on the kick out.
Coach, you spoke after the Houston game, specifically saying, in your words, that you believe you're one of the best teams in the Big 12. You've now played 2 of the teams that you thought coming into this conference were going to be near the top, where you obviously have maybe played above your expectation, but at the same time, they didn't come out as wins.
Yeah.
You have TCU next month, who just lost tonight. Where do you feel like you guys sit now in this conference going forward? And obviously, there's still a lot of basketball to play.
There's a ton of basketball left.
But where do you just feel like you sit now?
I think right now for us is just consistency, right? Because we've seen us clicking on all cylinders, and we've seen us with slow starts, right? So it's the tale of kind of 2 teams, and right here, almost at a halfway point or a little over halfway point, it's the conversations that we're having with them in the locker room, right? Because there are moments where it looks really, really, really good, but how do we sustain that for 40 minutes? And so right now, I think it's just continuing to work, right? Continuing to build off what we know is really good, because we want to be playing our best basketball in March. So just constant learning and constant growing.
And I have another question about how do you compare the intensity between the Pac-12 and the Big 12 conferences from the first 2 seasons you were in the program as a head coach to this year in Arizona State's first season in the Big 12?
There's talent in both conferences. You didn't see this much pressure, obviously, in the Pac. The Pac was definitely, more efficient from an offensive standpoint, and more, I would say, more read and react, more continuity offenses. There's a lot of different styles of play in the Big 12. You're going to see offense, you're going to see defense, you're going to see pressure, but you're still elite teams. There are 8 teams from the Pac that went. There are 9 teams from the Big 12 that went a year ago. So you're seeing elite talent across the board. It's just different styles of play in some instances.
and Skinner had a rough night.
Mhm.
She was held to 3 points. How do you look to get more involved with her offensively heading to this Saturday's game, and especially with the alumni night?
Yeah, Ty's an elite player, right? And so she's probably already watching the game right now, because again, it's not about what she scores. It's just more about the efficiency and what she's playing with. And so every top player has an off night, but the beauty of it is you have other players that can step up. So you won't expect that from her back-to-back games for sure.